If you're thinking about selling your home, whether it's upsizing, downsizing, relocating, or maybe you just want to test the market, this is the video that's going to make the difference between a stressful, uncertain process for you and a predictable, profitable, well-executed move. We're going to cover everything. We're going to cover, should you sell first? Should you buy first? This one is actually where people end up losing a lot of money. Pricing the home, this can be the difference between a bidding war and a listing that actually sits stale for quite some time. And we're going to talk about what buyers are actually thinking when they are coming through your home and how you as the seller can actually use that to your advantage, knowing exactly what they're thinking as they go through your home. I'm not going to give you just surface level advice today. This is going to be a long one. You can see how long this video is here. This is going to cover everything you need to know to sell smart, from the real numbers, the prep, how to actually navigate your move if you're buying at the same time as selling. Stick with me through the entire video, and if at any point you want to talk, click the first link in the description box down below, and I'm happy to have a one-on-one appointment with you. And at some point you'll have a banner that pops up here on the video as well. You can scan that code, book a one-on-one discovery call with me. Now, selling smart, this matters. Most people think selling a home is simple. They think hire an agent, take some photos of the home, list it, wait for offers. But the truth right now is selling a home is a high stakes business decision for you. Most people think the home is your biggest asset, and it is. And the way you sell it will directly impact your future buying power for your next property, your timeline, and your stress levels. In Ontario's market right now, where timing, presentation, and pricing strategy can quickly shift, as we've seen, the difference between a smart sale and a sloppier one can actually cost you tens of thousands of dollars. And trust me, I've seen it happen multiple different ways here. Homes that sit too long on the market because they are priced emotionally and not strategically. And you're going to leave money on the table if you do that. Sellers who end up rejecting the right offer early on, hoping for more down the road, might actually regret it in the weeks to come. And of course, the homeowners who thought they could save all that commission money by actually using the for sale by owner strategy. But they ended up losing more money than they could actually save because they did not think about what was actually important when it came to selling their home. Selling smart, to me, means understanding the psychology of the buyers that are coming through your home, presenting your home like a product, and having a clear game plan at the end of the day for how you want to move forward, especially if you were going to be buying a home at the same time. That is what we are going to do in this video today, giving you the full strategy so you can make a confident, informed decision about your home buying and selling journey, especially when you're doing those both together, and understanding the current Ontario real estate market right now. And before you price your home, prep it, or even decide whether or not you actually want to be selling your home, you need to understand the real estate market you're walking into. This is step number one. Ontario's real estate market is not a one-size-fits-all market. What's happening downtown Toronto could be completely different from what's happening in Barrie, Milton, Waterloo, or Mississauga. And beyond the location, timing absolutely does matter when you're listing your home. What are the inventory levels? What's the buyer demand? What are the interest rates? They're all going to play a part in shaping what the playing field looks like for you when you are selling your home. Right now, we are seeing a market that is flooded with inventory, especially on the condo side of things. Buyers haven't seen this much choice in years or decades. And this is resulting in them having a lot of analysis paralysis. If you go shopping and you've got 10 options for the one thing you are going to look for, you're probably not going to be able to make a decision very easily, if not at all. And as a seller, this market can either work in your favor right now, or it can actually work against you as well. So depending on how well you understand the market is going to be something that determines how well and how successful you're able to actually sell your property. That's why I always want to start my clients off with a couple different things. A local market analysis for actually what's happening today in your given market. You're watching this video today, but the market is going to be changing depending on when you actually watch this video. So this is something that we make sure our clients are prepared with so they can sell confidently. And we want to know what is happening in their area at that specific time so we can price it properly. And I also go over a timing strategy with my clients. Should you list now? Should you prep and wait? Align your sale with your next purchase window. These are questions that we always analyze with the client before anything else. Because this isn't about chasing the top of the market. It's about actually selling with a plan for yourself and your family that matches your actual goals. So before we talk staging, pricing, marketing, the first thing that we need to get clear on together is, what is the market actually telling you right now in your exact area? How do we respond to that with some kind of purpose? That's the kind of thinking that strong sellers will stand out amongst the rest. Now, we're going to have to talk about how to decide truly if it's the right time for you to sell your home. Not just based on the market conditions, but based on where you're at in your life. Now, the market is just one small part of the equation, but just because it's a good time to sell on paper doesn't automatically mean for you and for your family that it's the right time to actually move. Selling your home is going to affect everything from where you live, where you can buy next, your monthly costs, your commute, your kids' schools, the babysitters, the grandparents. It's a transaction, but it's actually a full life transaction as well. So here's what I talk with all my sellers about. We want to think before we even talk numbers. Why? Why are you actually thinking of selling right now? Are you downsizing, moving up, relocating, or maybe you just need to free up some equity? Your reason will actually shape your strategy here. What is the timeline? Do you need to move in 30 days? Do you need to move in a 3-month window? Or maybe this is a later down the road scenario we're talking about. Do you know where you're going next and what it's actually going to cost you to make the move right now? Do you have any flexibility at all? Or do you need to buy and sell in perfect unison? This is very difficult to do. These answers are going to matter more than any of the market stats out there, because timing isn't just about the actual market. It's about your life, your finances, and your comfort level more than anything else. And if you're not sure how to answer those questions just yet, that might be a normal part of the process for you. That's exactly why we offer seller planning sessions. If you scan the QR code here, we can have a one-on-one session where we can figure out where you're at in this process, if it's a now or a future move that you might be considering. And if you're still wondering, should I do this now? Or should I just maybe wait a little bit longer? You're actually asking the right question. And the next few sections here are going to actually help you figure that out a little bit more clearly. We're going to start by looking at the actual costs of selling, because understanding your numbers is actually going to avoid surprises down the road. Now, let's talk about the uncomfortable elephant in the room. And a lot of that time, that's money. Because selling your home, it's not free. It's not a free transaction. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is sellers focusing on what their home might sell for, but they forget to factor in what's actually going to cost them to sell their home. So here's a breakdown of what the typical expenses look like when you're selling your home in Ontario. Of course, there's going to be some variation here, but these are the typical expenses. You're going to talk real estate commission. This can be anywhere between 4 and 5% of the overall sale price of your home. This is just the general idea in Ontario real estate. It can be less, it can be a little bit more. There's also HST on top of that commission. So it could be 4% plus HST of the sale price. You have your legal fees. This could be anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500 depending on the transaction. Now, if you're buying and selling, don't forget, you got 2 lawyer fees that are going to be adding up there. The next thing is a mortgage penalty or a mortgage payout. What do you mean? I have a mortgage, why am I having a penalty? Well, you've signed a contract and you are breaching your contract by potentially moving without finishing that mortgage term. Let's say you have a 3-year mortgage term and you're moving on year 1, the bank is expecting 2 more years of interest. So there's going to be a penalty here. If it's a variable mortgage that you have, roughly 3 months interest is what that penalty is going to look like. Now, if it's a fixed rate, these penalties can be a little bit more steep, but reach out to your bank before you start that selling process to figure out what that number looks like for you. Home preparation costs is something you really need to consider because you want to present your home in the best possible light. And what does that mean? You want to spend a few $100s, invest in some of the highlights of your home, whether it's some staging, whether it's new paint, whether it's new handles on the cabinets in your kitchen. This is an easy miss when it comes to calculating what our costs are actually going to be when selling your home. And finally, those moving costs, whether you're hiring professionals, renting a truck, or just calling a bunch of friends and supplying the pizza and beer. Don't forget there is a cost that's going to come into play here. And don't forget, if you're buying, land transfer tax is also on the table as an additional cost beyond these ones here. Now, what you net from your sale actually matters. Not what you sell your home for, what you take home at the end of it. That's the number that you're going to use towards your next home to pay off your debt and to put in your savings account. So knowing it early is critical. The next step is actually preparing your home before it hits the market. And here's the mindset shift that we need to have here. I need you to make that shift right now if you're thinking about moving. Your home is no longer your home. It is a product. That means your goal here is to make it appealing to the widest possible audience, not just what feels comfortable or familiar to you. Now, this doesn't always mean a huge renovation, but it does mean being intentional. And here are the key things that I recommend to a lot of our sellers to actually focus on. You're going to declutter and depersonalize. You're going to clean surfaces, remove furniture, take down personal photos of you and your family. You want buyers to imagine themselves living here, not feel like they are walking through someone else's life. You're going to do a deep clean and some of these minor repairs. Scuffed walls, leaky faucets, loose doorknobs, all the little tiny things, they'll create doubt in a buyer's mind. And we want the home to feel cared for. You want to make it light, bright, neutral. And you want to maximize natural light. Open all the blinds, replace those burnt out bulbs, and if you are painting or touching things up in the house at all, stick to neutral tones that will not distract from the beauty of your property. Now, curb appeal. Of course, it's the first impression. It starts at the street when they get out of their car and walk up to your front door. Tidy the landscaping up, sweep that porch, clean the front door, make a difference for their impression. That way they are coming through your front door with a big smile on their face. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through this as my client in a custom prep sheet as we are getting your home ready for the market, because all of these things are crucial so you don't waste your money, but you also get the biggest return on your home sale. Now, in some cases, we are going to bring in a professional stager, of course. Make sure that the home shows at its absolute best, both online and in person for those buyers that are coming through. Now, the bottom line here is you don't need to overinvest when it comes to selling your home, but you do need to be very intentional about it because your home only gets one shot at that first impression. It is a very valuable moment for those buyers. And speaking of impressions, we are going to talk about how staging and presentation can actually influence the price that buyers are willing to pay in today's market. So let's take everything we just talked about there: cleaning, decluttering, fixing the small stuff. And now we're going to turn it up a level, because once your home is prepped, it's time to think about how it is going to look and feel to the buyers who are coming through, both online and in person. This is where staging comes in. And no, I'm not talking about turning your home into a magazine. It is very unrealistic, especially if you're living there with your family. I'm talking about intentional presentation that highlights your home and its best features, and it helps the buyers emotionally connect with the home. So first, we're going to start by rearranging some furniture to make rooms feel bigger and more spacious. We're going to add light, some texture to give that awkward space a little bit more of a natural flow. And you want to create small lifestyle moments in your home for the buyers that are walking through. A cozy reading chair, the clean coffee station, fresh towels in the bathroom, or maybe that nursery that will hit the sweet spot on that young couple who's thinking about having kids soon. Staging is not just about decorating, it's about creating an experience. And that's what gets left out a lot of the time. Now, let's be blunt. Buyers They're not just buying square footage, they're gonna buy with their emotions. The better the home shows, the more likely at the end of the day it is to photograph well, generate excitement, and also create some competition if it's priced properly. Now, we're speaking photos. We've got a professional photographer who is always on hand with us. This is a non-negotiable when it comes to putting your house on the market. Professional photography is an absolute must. I work with trusted photographers, stagers, and media team so we can make sure your home is properly positioned in today's real estate market. So the question to ask yourself here at the end of the day is, what will buyers feel when they walk through your home for the first time? Will they feel inspired potentially, or will they feel indifferent? The emotional response starts with a small staging and the great visuals that they're going to get online. And when you get that part correct, you can start to price your home in a way that attracts offers instead of chases the offers. And that's what we are going to cover next. So let's talk about what actually happens during a showing from the buyer's point of view, because if you have ever walked through a home as a buyer yourself, which you probably have if you bought this property, you know you're not looking at paint colors, you're not looking at countertops, you're asking questions in your head the entire time. Questions like, is this place well taken care of? Does it feel bright, open, peaceful? Or is it dark, small, smelly maybe, awkward? What's wrong with it that I am not seeing is a common thing you're probably thinking. And could I actually see myself living here? And here's something very important. Most buyers make a decision emotionally, and then they justify it with logic. That means your home does not need to be perfect, but it does need to feel good to people the moment they walk in. Search for that homey feel. And I've seen buyers fall in love with homes that needed updates because it feels clean, open, and inviting instead of that modern update that feels cold. And I've seen buyers just walk away from the perfectly renovated home because it feels lifeless. So as a seller, you need to understand your job is to remove friction, remove doubt, and help the buyers feel confident. That's why we focus on the tiny little things. Clean smells, comfortable temperature, and don't forget, have that music and soft lighting and those staged moments in your home. And make sure the home is spotless every single time. You're not just selling the square footage, you're selling the lifestyle, you're selling the feeling, and you're selling a future. And when the buyer feels good about your home, they are going to start picturing it as their own home. And that's what generates an offer on your property. Sometimes multiple offers on your property, which leads to one of the most important strategic decisions when it comes to selling your home: how to actually price your home to attract serious buyers without leaving money on the table. That's the next part of this video. But if you found some value up to this point, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what the most critical part of the home buying process was for you and how you are going to use that critical part from buying your first home when it comes to selling your home. Now let's talk about one of the most important misunderstood parts, and that's that pricing strategy. This is where most sellers get really tripped up because they think pricing high gives them room to negotiate, when in reality, what happens here is it's often going to push those serious buyers away because they think it's overpriced. The listing will sit stale, and then you're screwed. Here's the truth. Buyers are watching everything online now. They are comparing different properties, comparing sold prices, and they're comparing them against your home that's on the market right now. They're comparing it on their phone. They're comparing it with their friends. They're comparing it with their neighbors. So if it's overpriced, even by a little bit, you might lose your window of impact. And the first 7 to 10 days is the most critical period of time when you are selling your property. That's when you're going to get the most eyeballs. That's when everything is fresh. Most showings will come through, and that's where most of that momentum is. And the goal here in that specific window is to create some urgency, not hesitancy from the buyers. And that's why strategically pricing your home is important. What does it mean though to strategically price your property? Pricing it in line with current sold sales is very, very important. Not the listings in the area. We want to work with what's actually sold and what those numbers look like. You want to understand the psychology of presenting your property attractively to a buyer. So if you're thinking $805,000, go with $799. The mind is going to make the buyers feel like that is a much more attractive price, but it's only $5,000. Knowing when to price low and create competition and when to hold firm and price your property correctly to sell is very, very important. And what I do with all my clients is they build a pricing strategy based on the market data, the buyer behavior patterns in the specific market, and the local demand in that area. We don't guess, we don't use emotions, we don't just try a strategy and if it doesn't work, we try something else, because the right price doesn't just attract more buyers' attention, it actually attracts the right kind of attention. Qualified buyers, motivated, ready to act. We don't want people just walking through the home who aren't actually serious about buying a property. And when you price the property right, you often end up getting more than if you actually started with a higher price. Now remember, you don't want your home to be used to sell the other listings. You want other listings to make yours look like the obvious choice. In the next section, we are going to talk about how to amplify the momentum we have here with marketing plans that will get your home seen by the right people by the work that we do on the back end here. Now, you've prepped your home, staged it, priced it right. You need the buyers to see it. And it's not just about seeing it, they need to feel it as well. But if the goal is to create interest and get some competitive offers in there, you can't throw it on MLS and just hope for the best. That's not a strategy worth listing your home for. And that's not what we do. What you want to do is you want to launch this with a marketing that creates some urgency, exposure, and draws some emotion in from those buyers. So what does that look like from us? MLS plus realtor.ca. Of course, this gets your home on, the major platform. People can see it. We also have professional photos, floor plans, video, YouTube, of course, and then we run some strategic local ads, or we run the ads in areas that we think are going to bring the buyer for your specific home. But we run those ads with the potential buyer in mind. If your home is specifically going to be a first-time home buyer, we run ads for that category of people. If we know your home is 100% for downsizers, we will run ads for them. That's a strategy that we use on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube on the back end. We also use agent-to-agent marketing. Many of the homes that are sold through agent networks don't even hit the market in some cases, but we need to make sure we promote it everywhere possible so you get the most exposure. Neighborhood buzz is also drawn up by us. This is usually done via flyers, door hangers, or private previews to your local area to get some buzz drawn up, we'll say. Maybe do a local open house for just your street where you just have some coffee and get to know the neighbors. Maybe they've got somebody who they want to live in their area. Now, of course, every home is different, so we have a different plan for every home, but marketing plans should reflect each home, not just a standard template that we use. Now, others, they may benefit from more exclusivity, holding it off the MLS for a little bit more, using our private networks to see if we can get that buyer beforehand, and other homes might just need to go on MLS right away to get the most exposure. And that's what we like to bring for our clients, is some variety. And the key here is intention, not activity. We want to bring the listing to the right people. We don't care how many eyes get to it as long as they are the right eyes. Now in the next section, we're going to discuss what actually happens once your home is live and on the market, how to manage some of these showings, the feedback that comes in, and how to handle that like a pro. Now, once your home hits the market, that clock starts ticking. Everybody sees it on all of the resources online, but your first 7 to 10 days are crucial. It's exciting, it's new, it's everywhere. And that is why this launch has to be intentional, but not too rushed. We have a window of opportunity here to get it out to as many people as we possibly can. We usually will also send this out to people before it even hits the market in our local database. Now, my approach for listings is simple. We launch it like we're opening a brand, not just a listing, but more of an event. We use marketing to create anticipation. So the moment your home actually goes live, people are already starting to hopefully book some showings on your property. And we make sure that the listing description, visuals, positioning, they're all very dialed in. So the right buyer feels like your home is actually meant for them. We want to talk to that specific buyer in our marketing pieces. And here's what most sellers don't actually realize, because the moment buyers actually scroll past your listing in the first few days, they're rarely going to come back to it. They're going to refresh on the newer listings. That's why the launch has to be clean, has to be polished, and on point from the day it hits that real estate market. And once it's live, the next phase begins: showings. That's when the buyers stop looking online and they start imagining themselves inside your home. In the next section, we're going to talk about how to handle showings in a way that is efficient for you, respectful of your time, and most importantly, designed to convert interest into some offers for you. So your home is live, the listings look great, and the calls start coming in. It's showing time for you. And this is the part where the process can feel extremely overwhelming, especially if you're still living in the home. But the reality is, the easier it is to show your home, the faster it will sell. Buyers are busy. If they can't actually get into your home on the schedule that they would like, they may just move on from the listing and never come back. This is a reality. That doesn't mean you need to live in your showroom for 24 hours a day, but it does mean that you need to keep it really clean, keep it show ready. So there's not a lot you need to do when you get that text notification that another showing has been booked. Be as flexible as possible with your showing times. Don't have any barriers for the buyers that are coming in, and always leave the home during the showings so buyers can explore freely. Give them the time. The goal is to create a comfortable, unpressured situation for them. Don't go sit in the car out front the house, watch them go in and out, and make them feel extremely uncomfortable. They're going to leave and they're not going to come back. Now, after each showing, what we do is we gather feedback if the buyer wants to provide it for us. And that feedback part is very important. Not every buyer, of course, is going to love your home. Otherwise, everything would sell in one day. That's normal. But the feedback that we get is going to help us actually understand what is landing well on people and maybe what is not doing the best. For example, if multiple buyers say that the home feels dark, we're going to adjust the lighting, maybe change some of the staging around. And if they say that the price feels high, we're going to compare it with other recent sales in the area to validate our strategy, or if they just don't want to pay what we're asking. I keep you in the loop for any kind of patterns, not just the one-off comments, because buyers can say anything in this market. That way we are in the same loop. I keep you informed, and if tweaks are needed, there's going to be no surprises as we go through the process. Now remember, the showing phase is a test of interest. It's about building some momentum, gathering data, and getting closer to the right offer for you. Speaking of offers, the next section, we are going to break down how to review, compare, and respond to the offers that are going to be presented on your property. Now, when the first offer comes in, it's a big moment for you. And for many of sellers, this is an exciting moment. It feels like the moment. But here's what you need to remember. The first offer is not always the best offer, but it's almost always the most important offer, because serious buyers, they move fast. If your listing hits and they come in strong, you need to be ready to act and take them seriously. In Ontario, most offers are submitted in writing with a specific price, condition, deposit, and closing date. And in any situation where you've set up a bidding war or bidding date, you're going to see multiple offers potentially come in all at once. So you need to be prepared on how to handle those. Now, here are the parts of the offer that I walk my clients through every single time. The price, of course, very important, but we don't want to stop there. The deposit amount, is it a strong deposit? If so, they're probably a pretty serious buyer. Now, the conditions, are they asking for financing, a home inspection? Maybe they want the condition on selling of their own property. We want to talk about what is a cleaner deal. They're also going to have the closing date on there. Does it match your specific timeline as a seller? Or is it going to force you into a rush to move all of a sudden with a very awkward gap between? We also want to know what the buyer profile is. Are they a qualified buyer? Are they working with another agent who's a very experienced agent or a new agent? This actually matters. We've had multiple situations where the agent on the other end is the one who messes up the deal for all the parties. This is not about what's the strongest offer price necessarily. It's got to be a combination of all of these things to make the deal happen. And this is where my job comes in here. We're going to break everything down clearly for you, figure out what parts of the offers we like and what we don't, so you can make the right decision without any pressure, without leaving any money on the table for yourself, because negotiating, it's not always about winning. It's actually about creating a deal that works for you. Now, in the next section, I'm going to show you how we handle the negotiation phase of these offers, and of course, how to protect your interests without scaring off that great buyer. Now, of course, negotiation is where the deal is won or lost, so to speak. Now, it's one of the biggest reasons that sellers choose to work with a professional like myself. And when you're in the middle of a big life move, it's easy to let the emotions drive the conversation. It is something that you really want to think about how you handle it. You want to hold out for more money, or you're afraid of losing the buyer in front of you, so you take a lower price than you necessarily would have liked to have. But smart negotiation is not being emotional. It's being strategic. My job is to help you look at the full offer, understand the leverage that we have and where we can push a little bit further and where we need to take a step back. And how I approach that negotiation personally. On price, yes, of course, we aim to get you the most money for your home. No questions asked. But we want to balance that against the risk. A slightly lower firm offer might actually be better than a high offer with conditions. So we'll walk you through what situation makes more sense. Now, conditions, this is inclusive of financing, inspections, conditional on sale. I'm going to walk you through the risks with all of these and how to prepare for what can happen in each of these situations. Closing date, of course, we want to be flexible here, but flexibility can also cost you. So you want to make sure the closing date is something you can afford to extend to if it's a longer closing date. And of course, that buyer strength, who's behind the offer? Who is that is submitting an offer on your property? We want to make sure that we are looking at the market, and if you're positioned to maybe hold out for a better offer, or are we in a market where you're getting an offer and you should really try to get something done if at all possible. And if the deal isn't right for you, we're not going to force it, but we are going to move forward and position your home for that next opportunity. Because negotiation is not about being aggressive at all. It's about being calm, clear, and in control. That's what we do. Once we've actually accepted an offer, we're not done. The next phase is the conditional period, and of course that closing process. And there's still a few critical steps here in between that we're going to get through. So let's go there next. Now, once the offer is accepted, most sellers, they'll breathe a sigh of relief. But it's not over. It's conditional. The truth is we are not near the finish line yet, and many offers come with conditions: financing, home inspection, sale of a buyer's property, and these are typically a few days or a few weeks depending on which conditions are part of the deal. Now, if it's a standard home inspection and financing deal, you're generally looking at 5 business days for these conditions to take place. And during that 5-day period, you're going to be stressing out because you might feel like the buyer is no longer interested in your home if they're taking all of their 5 days that they've been granted. And you're hoping that your home inspection goes well on your home and there's nothing that pops up that is going to be major that scares the buyers off. Now, if a home inspection condition is actually part of the offer, what happens is the inspector will go through, they'll make a full report for the buyer client, paid for by the buyers, of course, and they'll supply that to the buyers. Buyers will then decide if they are confident and comfortable to move forward with your property, or if there's some adjustment they need to have in the price or some things you need to potentially fix as the seller. So let's say the furnace is not working like they thought it was once it was inspected. They could potentially come back to you as the seller and say, hey, we love your home, we still want it, but we want a $2,000 adjustment on the original purchase agreement we have here to move forward with it to compensate for portion of a new furnace in the future. That's something as the seller you can decide fair enough, or you can say no more deal for you, and decide where you want that deal to go. At that point, the seller can completely back out of the deal and say they don't want the property anymore if they would like. And that is what the conditions are there for. They're there to protect the buyers at the end of the day, because the buyer is the one who's going to be forking out all that money to pay for your beautiful property. Now, of course, financing has to be approved as well in some of these conditions. And once all the conditions end up getting met, your lawyer You need to have a lawyer in your corner to make sure that all the paperwork looks good, all the financial documents from your bank, for the mortgage lender, everything is all sorted out. And this is who you coordinate with after the transaction has finished on paper between the agents and the conditional period is complete. But before you close, we're going to do those final walkthroughs. We do one generally a month or so before closing, but we save one of them for a day or two before you take possession of your new property. This one is an important final viewing of the home. Now what we do here is we make sure everything looks great. Hopefully the seller has actually moved out if you're a buyer, and we want to make sure that your home is presented as it was previously. There's no new broken items, there's no dents in the walls, all the appliances are working, and after that final walkthrough, everybody feels confident that they can move on to the next deal. Now the good news is you've made it to the end, but for many sellers, this means the next chapter for you, buying a home. Because in this market today, you really do want to sell before you buy. And that's where it's going to get really interesting right now. In the next section, I'm going to walk you through how to successfully navigate selling and buying at the same time without losing sleep, losing money, or leaving money on the table. If you're like most sellers, you're not just selling a home, you're actually buying one too. And doing both at the same time, that's where things start to get tricky. The truth is, there's no perfect formula here, but there is a smart way to do it, and it starts with actually knowing your options. I'm going to break it down for you. The 4 most common strategies. Number 1 is sell first, then buy. It is safer financially to do this. You know exactly how much money you have to work with. There's less risk, but you may have to rent. Number 2 is you buy first and then you sell. This works well if you've got the equity, financing, or flexibility to hold both for a short period of time. Now you secure your next home with no rush. This requires financial comfort or bridge financing if the bank is going to offer that to you. Now there's more risk if the market shifts here. The third way we like to sell our property is you use the condition of selling your home. Now you make an offer on your next home that's conditional on selling your current property. This protects you from owning 2 homes, which you might not be able to afford. Now this does mean your offer, unfortunately, is not as competitive in a hot market, but some sellers, they just won't accept an offer like this, but you want to choose what you're comfortable with at the end of the day. Now the fourth thing is that bridge financing. This is going to allow you to tap into the equity of your current home before it sells, so you can close on the new one first. It's going to give you some flexibility. Interest costs do apply, and you do need lender approval for this. The best approach for you really does depend on your financial picture, your risk tolerance, and the current real estate market that we're in right now. That's why I spend time with my clients up front, mapping out timelines, budgets, and backup plans for if they make any major moves. Now, whether we need to align closings perfectly, negotiate on some flexibility on the possession dates, or maybe explore some creative options like rent backs, I'm gonna help you build a move plan where you have a lot less stress for yourself. So if the idea of buying and selling at the same time is making you nervous, good. That means that you know it's a big decision. It's not child's play here. But with the right plan, it's absolutely something that's doable, and I'm gonna help clients do this every single week, and I can help you do it as well. And now that you get a clear picture of how the actual process goes, I want to quickly go over some of the common mistakes that I do see some sellers make so you can avoid them completely. And these are things that are going to help you save time, money, and they're going to give you just some peace of mind, and they're all avoidable with the right strategy. So first off, do not overprice based on emotion. Just because you feel your home is worth a certain number doesn't mean the market is going to agree with you. Second, underestimating the cost of selling your home. We covered this earlier, but skipping the net sheet, ignoring the prep costs, forgetting the legal fees, is going to lead to some big surprises. Number 3 is trying to time the real estate market. There's no crystal ball, there's no waiting for the perfect moment, and the perfect moment is really just a good moment for you and your goals. 4th is not prepping your home, just rushing the listing, putting it on the market with no strategy at all. You're setting yourself up for failure if you do this. And the 5th thing is choosing the cheapest agent. Not all agents are created equal. Some will offer you very low commission rates. Some will offer you extremely high commission rates. But figure out what your agent offers in their commission structure and compare it with the value that you are given to see if it makes sense to use that particular agent. Their marketing beyond the MLS is the most important thing. Now, the sixth thing is not having a plan for that buy-sell transition. We just finished covering this, but it's worth repeating. Sellers selling without a plan of what's happening next is going to lead to a lot of panic, but the good news here is every one of these pitfalls is avoidable with some clarity, preparation, and professional guidance along the way with the process. And if you're watching this, you're already ahead of 90% of the sellers that are out there. And in the next section, I'm going to walk you through exactly what your role is in this process and what you should expect your agent to handle for you. Now, one of the biggest sources of stress for sellers is not knowing what they are responsible for and what their agent should actually be doing. So I'm going to be clear. I'm going to give you some clarity on what that looks like. My role as your agent is research, pricing strategy, market analysis, a custom prep sheet for you guys about staging, photo, video, floor plan, social media, scheduling, managing, communicating with the buyer's agents, review offers. All of this is done by me. And in short, I run this whole process for you so you can stay focused on the big picture. Now, your role as the seller is different. Prep the home as we discussed. Be flexible and responsive during showing times. Don't say no to those buyers. Stay open-minded about feedback and strategies that we need to update. Be clear about your goals and timelines and ask questions about the process along the way. Now, you don't need to become a real estate expert. That's what I am here for, to guide you. But we need to work together as a team to get you to that finish line and get you in that next home for your family. If you've made it this far in this video, thank you for watching this one. This is a long one. First of all, you're clearly somebody who is thinking about doing this the right way. You are going to get a couple last pieces of advice from me here. Detach emotionally from the sale if you can. Selling your home isn't just personal, it's strategic. View your property like a product, not a memory. Focus on the full picture here. The best sale is not always the one with the highest price for you. It's the one that moves closer to your final goal. Preparation beats luck. From staging to listing to sale, that prep is going to take you as far as you need it to go. And work with someone who thinks like a strategic agent, not just a salesperson trying to put some money in their pocket, somebody who actually values you as the client. The truth is, selling your home, it is one of the biggest financial decisions you're ever going to make. So make sure you do that with confidence, and that'll make you feel in control the whole way. And if you're ever thinking about selling, and this video was helpful for you, whether it's now or in 6 months, you can feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to discuss what your plans are when transitioning to your next home. You can always book a call with me, one-on-one discovery call, by scanning the QR code on the banner in the bottom here. Thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.